We live in a society that's pretty big on playing. In fact, if we want to learn more about ourselves, we can start by looking at how we play.
Compound words for 400, please.
This word for an intellectual could also refer to someone obsessed with omelets. Steve.
What is an egghead?
Right.
Compound words for
What are the abilities that our culture values? What risks are we prepared to take? And what are the rewards that we feel are worth playing for?
A new car!
So by analyzing our favorite games, we can answer some important cultural questions. This video is about a type of game that our society is crazy about. In fact, British Columbians play it at a rate that might surprise you. That game is the provincial lottery.
$20 million.
$2. What do you bet? Look at this. No.
So how much did you win?
Zot.
In this province, probably 80% of the public age 18 and over play lotteries at least sometimes throughout the month.
But I plan to win. Like everybody else, we're gamblers, so we're just definitely going to keep buying.
Greed.
Of the people who gamble, it would not be strange to say that between 5 and 10% of those people are actually addicted to gambling.
649 tickets because it's for $15 million and I'm going to win, of course.
You just like to have money that you didn't have to work for.
This is an annual report from the British Columbia Lottery Corporation. In this particular fiscal year, the corporation has raised $738 million from lottery players. $738 million. Of that, $370 million has gone to pay winners' prizes. Another $133 million has gone to pay other operating expenses, leaving $227 million in profit for the provincial government. That goes into British Columbia's general revenue. In a time of government deficits, this is one government office that isn't having a hard time breaking even. More than breaking even, this corporation seems to have plenty left over to spread around. In fact, by all counts that seem important, the provincial lottery is a very successful game indeed. But it's an unusual kind of game. As a game, the lottery isn't very interesting. It lacks many of the structural features that usually draw us to games. Lotteries value no special skill or strategy. There is no suspense, no teamwork, and there are no spectators. And even though there is no limit to the number of people who can play against you, there is, ironically, no visible opponent. The lottery is a game that is at best mundane, and at worst, a little silly. In fact, the only drawing feature in the structure of this game is that you can win it. Prizes. Yes, there certainly are prizes. But even they don't explain our infatuation with the lotteries. After all, so few of us win. Take a look. For every dollar you spend, 50 cents goes back into the jackpot. So, on the average, each time you spend $1 on the BC Lottery, you take a net loss of 50 cents. So people aren't losing all of their money at lotteries, only half of it. For most of us, there isn't much to be had from this game. And yet, we insist on playing, which is why lotteries work so well. A lottery is a game that exists only because of other players. The more players that participate, the bigger the prize, the more exciting it gets, and the more people will play. This is a game that fuels itself. But consider what happens when a few participants get fed up, or bored, or dizzy. The entire system shuts down. There would, by the very definition of this game, be no game. Astoundingly, in the 20-year history of gaming in Canada, this has never happened. Why? To answer this question, we'll want to look at the design and playing of these games. We'll also want to examine how these games are being marketed.
49 and the extra. And a special congratulations to Jackie Chong on his $6.2 million win on last Saturday's 649 draw. Jackie received his check this week from the lottery's Peter Adamo.
Peter Adamo designs and sells lotteries.
Winner for British Columbia, and a new meaning to the word layover at the Vancouver International Airport. It gives me great pleasure to... When you put so much effort into a product and you take it on as your own, you work hard with it, getting it and developing it all the way through, you have to be incredibly flexible and have the ability to change very quickly. You have to be able to just bounce right up the next day and grab another product and start all over.
Peter Adamo speaks of his product. But what's he producing? Usually, advertising makes some attempt to tell you what you're getting. There's a product, and there's a value attached to it. But what's a lottery's product? What's the value of a ticket?
Instead of taking flowers or something, I'll take a scratch and win. If I'm going over to someone's house or whatever.
So you wouldn't give them a loonie, but you'd give them...
No, absolutely not.
What's the difference?
Actually, you know what? I've even taken, if I'm, like one time I was on my way to get my hair cut, and I like my hair guy, he's really neat, and I'm not a very good tipper, right? So I was buying, my lottery ticket, and so I bought him a scratch and win. And somehow that was appropriate, but to give him $1 tip would have been terrible.
The product is really entertainment. You're entertained at a theater for 2 hours. If it was an exceptional movie, you may be entertained for a long time while you replay the movie to your friends and family or replay it in your mind. But a lottery ticket is a lot like that as well.
Entertainment, maybe, but this isn't exactly a theater ticket. Or if it is, there's a very good chance that we'll never actually see the play. What lottery marketers are trying to convince us to do is to take a risk. And that's a very difficult thing to convince people to do. Advertisers have a much easier time convincing people not to take risks.
You'd never do this. But if you take a prescription medicine blindly, without fully understanding what you're taking, how to take it correctly, and possible side effects, then the very medicine designed to help you could actually harm you. That's why knowledge is the best medicine. In short, it helps you make sure you're not in the dark about the medicine you're taking.
It's also pretty easy to convince us to let someone else take the risks on our behalf.
There are two kinds of people in the world. Those who lead and those who follow. In real estate, the same is true. The top producing agents that are full-time and experienced, they don't follow the crowd. They rise above it.
But for an advertiser to convince us to take a risk, to pay for something with a good chance that we may never actually receive it, that's much more difficult. How do lottery advertisers do it?
Just imagine.
$2 million. Just imagine.
The win is the enticement. The win is the thing that will get you to buy the ticket, because you do have a chance to win. If you buy the ticket, you have a chance. That's the bottom line.
I don't need your crummy job, Mr. Employer. I won the lottery.
Well, who needs employees? I won the lottery too.
We both won the lottery. Why don't you win the lottery too?
The state lottery, where everybody wins. Actual odds of winning 1 in 380 million.
Bleh, the lottery.
Yes, the advertising strategy does border on the absurd. But then, why does it work so well? Part of the success of lottery marketing might lie in the way we view randomness, how we perceive risk.
You'll never guess what happened, Marge. Are you ready? I have a feeling that we may win the lottery!
But we never, ever.
Now, I know you're excited, but calm down and listen to me carefully. Go get all your money.
Homer, the odds are 380 million to 1.
Correction, 380 million to 50.
Psychologists have identified some very interesting patterns about human risk perception. Let's say there's some risk that's mundane, but that's actually highly likely. Say, getting hurt in a car accident. Now, believe it or not, there's a fairly strong chance that driving in a car, you could get hurt on the highway. Now, ask someone who's driving on the road what the chances are that he or she will get hurt in a car accident. No, not very likely. It won't happen to me. Now, contrast that with someone who's flying in a plane. Stepping onto a plane, we're more likely to think that we will get into a crash. But did you know that statistically speaking, it's more likely that people will be hurt in a car than in a plane? Now, the reason we distort our perceptions of chance is that a plane crash is just so interesting. It's a lot of people stirring around, gets in the paper. It's a very salient, juicy event. Now let's take something else that, like a plane crash, is very interesting, but that's also outlandish, bizarre, and very, very unlikely. Say, winning a ludicrous amount of money in a provincial lottery. One chance in 14 million. And then ask people what they perceive are the odds that it'll happen to them.
649 tickets because it's for $15 million and I'm going to win, of course. There's no doubt. Of course.
What makes you think you're going to win?
Because I never buy any tickets unless they're over 10 million because that's, you would need more. I didn't win 4 million, she's lying. But I am going to win the 15 million, there's no doubt, so that I never have to work again.
I'm thinking I win today.
How do you know? How do you know you'll win today? Why are you thinking?
She feels it in her bones. You feel it in your bones? Yeah, I'm feeling mine.
Yeah, of course I feel luckier some days, and it's a feeling, state of mind.
Yeah, what does that feel like? How do you know when you're lucky?
It's just a feeling, general feeling of peace.
And somehow it feels then that, what?
Somehow then I'd probably buy more tickets than usual. Yeah, definitely.
I get tired of people saying you're so lucky. There's so much out there, and right now there's just so many sweepstakes for us to enter. There's just plenty of them to share.
So, by emphasizing the sheer magnitude of the prize, lottery advertising bends our perception of chance. We are convinced that we may well win the big prize, even though the chances of winning are very, very small indeed. But there are other ways that we bend our perceptions of randomness. Game theorists and statisticians speak of a phenomenon called gambler's fallacy. Gambler's fallacy is the belief, the mistaken belief, that chance has a memory. The belief, for instance, that if 32 was a winning number yesterday, it is less likely to be a winning number tomorrow. Or that because you won last week, you are more likely, or less likely, to win again next week. Gambler's fallacy amounts to the belief that one can predict the unpredictable. Which game did you just win playing?
On the extra. Yeah. I often win the extra.
Why do you play the extra?
Because 2 times I've won 3 numbers on the extra, and that is a prize of $1,000 and $1,000. Of course I'm going to keep buying the extras.
And how do you choose the numbers that you play?
Well, I don't know. I just always do quick pick, and I've won $70 twice on quick pick, so I don't know.
So it works for you?
I guess.
Are certain numbers luckier than others, do you think?
I'm sure they are, but I don't seem to pick them.
Gambler's fallacy runs rampant among lottery players. But each lottery draw is a random, independent event. No number is luckier than any other number, and lottery outcomes of the past are unrelated and irrelevant to outcomes in the future. The good news about gambler's fallacy is that we feel we can predict and control. The bad news is that we can't.
I will now draw the first winning number.
I've got so many tickets I can't lose.
The first number is 17.
You can still win some money if you have 5 out of 6.
Woohoo!
And the second number is 3.
Gambler's fallacy sells lottery tickets, and lottery marketers know it. Luck Magazine is a promotional newspaper put out weekly by the BC Lottery Corporation. In every issue, you'll find this figure called a frequency chart.
Frequency charts are interesting because I have, for 649 and BC 49, I have people that come in all the time, and the way that they picked their numbers were based on the frequency charts.
The frequency chart shows how many times a particular number has fallen over the last 12 months. This year, for instance, the number 31 has been drawn quite often. It is lucky. Number 15 is evidently less lucky. But this is meaningless, misleading information. Posing as relevant data, the information on this figure tells us nothing about any future draw. This chart is an ad for gambler's fallacy.
You know, the percentage of that, or the chance of that ball coming up is exactly the same every draw after every draw, which to you and I, thinking logically, doesn't make any sense why you would expect one number to come up more than the other. But people play with numbers, and it's perception. And if they see that, in this instance, number 31 has come up 162 times over a number of draws, then they'll think that that's a hot number, and maybe that's the one they should be playing.
That you're kidding them by printing that kind of data.
We're just giving them information that they want.
In order for the lottery industry to survive, lottery marketing must prey upon our misperceptions of chance. But that's not the only thing that propels us to play. There's also the frenzy.
I'm so excited, oh yeah, and I just can't hide it. I just scratched and won, and I think I like it.
Lottery advertising in this province is fairly major. It's not likely that you can turn on a TV and watch it for 3 hours without seeing some form of a lottery advertisement, whether it be for an instant game or a jackpot or a sports action ad. You're going to see one somewhere.
And that's not surprising. This past year, for instance, the Lottery Corporation spent about $11 million on advertising. That amount rivals the ad expenditures of corporations like Labatt's Breweries and McDonald's restaurants. You can find lotto ads on radio, on television, in print, on billboards, and on the outside of Vancouver buses, as well as on a network of over 2,000 digital billboards at vending locations all over the province. Why spend $11 million on advertising? To get us excited. To survive, the lottery industry must maintain us in a state of frenzy. That keeps the jackpots high, and that keeps us buying tickets. And make no mistake, the frenzy does not happen by itself. It is induced by advertising. As an experiment, the BC Lottery Corporation recently pulled its instant win and point-of-sale television advertisements for 4 weeks. The result? During that month, lottery ticket sales dropped by 38%. But so what? What could possibly be wrong with creating a bit of a stir? Everyone has fun after all, and what's wrong with that? Well, there is at least one problem. It seems that the players who fuel this game may be precisely the people who shouldn't be fueling it.
Won $10 last week. Huh? Well.
What'd you do with the $10?
Went and bought groceries.
Now, is this the way people should be earning their grocery money?
Is it?
I don't know.
Well, I think whatever gets you through, huh?
Critics argue that the lottery primarily targets those at the lowest rungs of the economic ladder: the unemployed, the working poor, the elderly.
I can't believe that thought or that philosophy. I don't quite understand it. It's basically like this. if you're poor, for whatever reason, you're also not that stupid. If you need a loaf of bread and you only have $1, you're gonna go out and buy the loaf of bread. You're not gonna buy the lottery ticket on a 1 in 14 million chance of becoming suddenly rich.
Let's hope Peter Adamo is right. But at least some people would disagree. This Montreal study found that for every 5 people who really can't afford lottery tickets, 4 of them are buying lottery tickets. Is this the lottery's fault? Their advertising can tell us a lot. Look at the characters, settings, and situations in these television ads. The images are of factory workers, not doctors, of office clerks, not corporate executives, and taxi drivers, not lawyers. They're in laundromats and trailer parks, not in opera houses or hotel rooms. The target market is clear. There is at least one other major problem with provincial gaming. This man did not want to talk to me for long, and he didn't want his face shown on camera. But his situation is cause for concern.
But I got hooked on these things for the last about 3 weeks.
Hooked. This player had just spent $15 at the cash register and suggested that he would be back again later that day. Is it possible to go too far?
Good. Okay, great. So
Carolyn Wischina is a Vancouver counselor who treats people addicted to drugs, alcohol, and gambling.
Of the people who gamble, it would not be strange to say that between 5 and 10% of those people are actually addicted to gambling. You may not see this, the behavior of people when they go and buy their actual lottery tickets. They don't look terribly excited as they sort of purchase another ticket. But as the game nears and people become more and more excited about this game coming and all of the possibilities that it brings, they start to feel the physiological stimulation. They start to feel aroused. In the same way that somebody who uses cocaine gets excited knowing that they're about to receive their shipment, for example.
Yeah, there are gamblers out there. Absolutely. Those are the guys that or the people that go down to the track, go to Vegas, Reno, Lake Tahoe every year and gamble. They're here. They play other games. If they're not buying lottery tickets, they'll find some other way to play it. The gambler is not our market anyway. We don't gear ourselves towards that.
Every time you turn on the television, you see somebody else winning that million, and clearly that's going to be what attracts people. It's the winning. But there's no control over the winning. It's not uncommon for people who are compulsive gamblers to take risks beyond people's wildest imaginations. Start with perhaps their savings, no big deal. Continue on. Start to lose things like homes, families, businesses. That's not strange.
Everyone realizes that when they get a paycheck, you have so much money that has to go towards, for example, your car payment, your hydro bill, your grocery bill, and then there's some money left over. The money left over is what all of us in the entertainment industry are going for. We're all going for that same piece of disposable income, and that's it.
For the Lottery Corporation, that's it. But I still have some problems with all of this. One of the redeeming features of legalized gaming is that it's for the communal good. For every $1 you spend, 33 cents goes to a charity. And that's good, I guess. But then again, I can think of a lot more direct, efficient, and, well, charitable ways of donating 33 cents to charity. The success of the lottery, in fact, has very little to do with the communal good. We play to win.
Sports action. Get it right. Win money. You like that. It's something to brag about.
My personal take on things is that our society has created competition in order to benefit the individual. It's not about creating bonds in the community. It's about dividing bonds in the community. This is about somebody going out so that they can not only keep up with the Joneses, but so that the Joneses can keep up with them.
So, what's my opinion about lotteries? Well, maybe that's beside the point. This hasn't really been a video about lotteries. It's been about us. Lotteries work because we make them work. And the way we play them has everything to do with our culture. Think of the other treadmills we run, faster and faster, in pursuit of enormous rewards we never receive. Think of the other ways we value individual gain over the gain of the community. Think of other examples where we tolerate the exploitation of many at the bottom for the benefit of a few at the top. And think of other instances where we are prepared to bend our perceptions of risk in the name of short-term gain or instant gratification. Maybe our culture's love for lotteries is not something to be proud of. So, go ahead. Buy your lottery ticket. But remember, this is a political decision. You are buying a ticket into a system that is laden with cultural values, a system that exploits, a system that... just a second, please.
31. Now for your convenience, here are today's 649 winning numbers in numerical order. We have 25, 29, 30, 32, 33, and 42, with a bonus of 31.
Excuse me.
Welcome back to square one.